The fashion industry is an unsustainable mess.
6 out of 10 pieces of clothing end up in landfill within 12 months of being made.
Unfortunately, we're not really doing much about it.
H&M released 15,000 styles last year. Shein, 6,000 styles a day. If that style doesn't land, it goes straight to landfills, which obviously doesn't make any fucking sense.
We decided to make all of our suits made to order on a batch model.
Already 3 batches sold out.
The big vision for Batch is to be the go-to made-to-order brand in the world.
Tell us the scary truth of our current fashion world.
The traditional suit is dead. It's an outdated formality, and the people that do wear it tend to be there's obviously a lot.
Every single man right now is like, and women.
I'm here for
matter.
this shit. Carry on.
That was controversial.
Yeah. There are still occasions that you'd wear a traditional suit. Like, I still like to wear it occasionally, but generally speaking.
It's all right, mate. We'll send you the edit. You can cut out what you want. Welcome to episode 9 of CharleChats, the Ecommerce Podcast. My name's Nick. I'm the founder of Charle, a Shopify agency here in London. And I'm so excited to welcome you to our home for some very open, honest, and real conversations with some absolute A players in e-commerce right now. So, without further ado, let's do this. Six out of 10 pieces of clothing end up in landfill within 12 months of being made. You guys are in your second year of trading, already 3 batches sold out. What's your story?
The story is that we couldn't find a decent casual suit. That was the premise for Batch. The traditional suit is arguably overly formal. You can only really wear it with certain clothes to certain occasions. So we saw an opportunity to create a much more versatile casual garment, something that you can style with all of your clothes and therefore have an outfit for all occasions. The timing was quite interesting as post-COVID, the need for the traditional suit had kind of diminished in a lot of workplaces. So we saw an opportunity in redefining workwear. Ultimately, working and living in London, you just consistently need a very smart casual outfit, and dressing smart casually is quite expensive and difficult for a lot of people. So that was the initial inspiration for Batch. Then when you set up a fashion brand, or for any business for that matter, you need to work out how you can be sustainable. The fashion industry is an unsustainable mess. The stat that you referenced is one that we use regularly, that 6 in 10 items that are made every single year end up in landfill within 12 months. So there's this huge issue that we all know about, but unfortunately we're not really doing much about it. So we were like, how can we set up Batch to oppose the waste and ultimately change our culture of over-consuming clothes? So long story short, we decided to make all of our suits made to order on a batch model. So that is the essence of what we're doing. Yeah.
I mean, firstly, guys, these suits look absolutely incredible. So
Thank you.
Cheers.
Massive kudos to you guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, we need to sort you boys out with some suits.
We do. I was like, I feel left out here, don't you?
We couldn't have all been sat here in suits.
I don't know, mate. I think we could have. We've got 4 colours, 4 blokes.
I'm not going to lie, we could have been on your next campaign. It'd just been like the CharleChats sofa campaign. It was
Be
just
careful what you wish for.
Honestly.
What's your modelling career like?
Great. So let's just take it back a little bit before Batch, and I want to understand your guys' story and what led you to one another.
Well, so we went to university together. We're both at Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Became mates at uni. We actually played quite a lot of sport together. We then got to the point where, I'd been working in a drinks startup for 5 years, learnt loads about the startup world and how that worked, had this need for a casual suit, realised that there was nothing like that out there. So I took the idea to Julian. He'd also been working in the startup world for a similar amount of time. We both joined very early in the various businesses we were in. I was at Punchy and Ju was at Oddballs. So we kind of had that contextual knowledge in how you get something off the ground. So it's the little things that are difficult, like how do you do a cash flow or when do you register for VAT? I think those are the stumbling blocks for lots of really good ideas. So we realised we had this good experience. We're quite yin and yang in terms of our skill sets. I'm very analytical and strategical, and Ju's much more creative and great wordsmith. And so those 2 things just came together nicely, and we had a nice approach.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Pay me a tenner for that. So yeah, we realised that together we shared this similar issue. shared this similar passion to want to change the way that we consume. And when I say that, this is not from like a super, green perspective. We're not the most sustainable blokes that we could be. But we also realise at the same time that it's not that easy to be sustainable in the fashion industry. Like, you don't know where to go, you don't know what the choices are, you don't know what's good, what's bad, what's greenwashing, what's not. So that kind of inspired us both to have this big why of making that, giving people the opportunity to be sustainable and making that accessible.
So I think this story is really interesting because you literally had this idea. I mean, I completely relate to like casual wear. I spend my life in casual wear, and it is really difficult because like sometimes it can there's just like, it feels like there's such a mismatch of like, oh, what am I going to wear in the evening? Is that smart enough for the evening, but it's not smart enough for the day? So I love the problem that you guys are trying to resolve from like a fashion side of things, but also there's clearly a massive problem in the way that we buy fashion and buy clothing and produce clothing right now. So give us a little bit of the background of like the sustainability of fashion right now. Julian, you mentioned that, it's terrible of what we're doing and completely unsustainable. Tell us the scary truth of our current fashion world.
Happily. So I think first and foremost, it's important to not greenwash when we're having these conversations. And we set up Batch with a purpose, and that is tackling fashion waste, and we're trying our best to do something about that. So when we talk about these statistics, they're thrown around a lot, right? And it's very easy to stick our head in the sand and ignore them. And for the most part, we all do when we consume clothes. And it's okay to consume fashion and clothes. Like, we all do it. I do it. Sam does it. But what we're trying to instill is that we could all do it a little bit more considerately and make slightly more responsible decisions. So ultimately, that's how our batch model works. So the suits take 6 to 8 weeks to make in our factory in London. Over that period, you get a week-by-week video from the factory seeing your suit being made. So being able to see that process and that transparency is something that's very unique within the fashion industry. Not many people get to watch their clothes being made. We hope as a consequence, when the clothes do arrive with you, you're going to care for them a lot more, right? Because you've seen the entire process, you get to appreciate the work and skill that goes into it. And when it arrives with you, we hope that seeing that process means that you're going to buy into helping Batch slow fashion down. So that's ultimately where we're trying to take it, is that you're rewarded for your patience in waiting for your clothes to be made.
And in terms of kind of like the unsustainability of other fashion brands right now, how does that compare for like your average Joe who maybe doesn't have a clue where their fashion's coming from? They're going to Zara, buying a new suit or whatever, and they're literally they're happy as Larry, thinking they're doing something fine. Like, what is the main problem with fashion for someone who maybe is not as clued up as you guys?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And before you can work out, how you can make more sustainable choices, you've got to understand what the issue is, right? So again, we didn't really realise that until we started looking into it. Here's some of these big stats about the amount of clothing going to landfill. And we asked ourselves why, like, how does that happen? How we ended up in this situation? And so in the research that we did, we found that 70% of fashion waste comes from upstream production. So that's effectively everything that goes into dyeing the clothing, making the different materials, the water production used in cotton, through to transport, through to making the garments, but effectively everything before it ends up in the consumer's hands. So what you have is these big fast fashion brands who are releasing thousands of styles a year. So H&M released 15,000 styles last year, which is mental. So you think about how many outlets they've got just in the UK, well, London, the UK, Europe, etc. Each one of them is stocking those styles in multiple sizes and multiple quantities. But ultimately, they're guessing what's going to land. Yeah, you can try and forecast, and you can get quite accurate at that. But you are still guessing, and there's so much competition between these brands that they're all trying to outdo each other and release more and more and more. So you end up with this vast amount of clothing that's in these shops or under this brand's umbrella. If that style doesn't land, they'll discount it. If that doesn't sell, then it goes straight to landfill. So no one's even touched it yet, which obviously doesn't make any fucking sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you start thinking about it and processing it, it's just wildly out of hand. There's a Chinese company called Shein who release 6,000 styles a day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's just bonkers. And granted, they're an online retailer mostly, so you don't quite have that same physical footprint. But there's still a vast amount of work that goes into creating each of those styles, from sampling to testing it out, etc. And Shein are really bad amongst other big fast fashion brands because they create their clothes at such a cheap cost that if you buy something and you don't like it and it doesn't fit you and you send it back, more often than not, it's cheaper for them to throw it away and make a new one than it is to reprocess, repackage and send it back out again, which obviously doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it's just a really, really, really broken market that we're trying to do something to address. But, you know, ultimately it's driven by consumers and consumers wanting more. You want it now, you want the latest style, the latest trend. Our experience of that is it is starting to change and people are wising up to it a bit.
Are they trying to make change as well? Because I would have thought if everyone's screaming and shouting about this at this point, or it's just that they've grown so large that, you know, at what point can they pivot? Is it a bit too late for them? To a certain extent, maybe, because you've got shareholders to deal with. Yeah.
But effectively, this is where the greenwashing kicks in. So Shein, to use the company we were just talking about, launched a resale platform. Like, you're buying a bikini for £3. Yeah. You're not going to resell it.
No.
And, you know, and you buy something that doesn't fit you well and you try and send it back and they turn around to you and say, oh, it's your lucky day, you just get to keep it. Which actually happened to my ex-girlfriend when I was with her at the time. And it's like, what? Keep it. It doesn't fit you and you don't like it. What are you going to do with something you don't like that doesn't fit? You're going to throw it away. Yeah. You know, it's not like a £200 item that you're like, banging, just got 200 quid, I'll sell that for 100 and happy days.
So do you think most of the problem sits with the manufacturers or the brands that are producing so many styles, throwing shit at the wall basically to see what sticks? Or do you think it mainly sits with the consumers who are buying, throwing? Or do you think it's probably a bit of a mix?
I think that more responsibility is on the large fashion houses, to be honest. I think collectively the consumer can change the culture, but ultimately it needs to come from the top down, the brands that are promoting and touting, the fast fashion places, basically. Yeah, they're responsible ultimately.
And this is why Shein have protesters outside their shops 24/7, because people are waking up to this problem, right? So where are you guys in your story? So you're 2 years in.
Yeah.
You seem to be absolutely killing it. I'm seeing you guys everywhere at the moment, loving your current social ads. Honestly, love the photography. It looks awesome.
Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about we've spoken about we're on batch 4. How's your story been so far, right from the beginning?
So right from the beginning, we launched in May of 2022. Yeah, May last year. And it took us about 10 months before that to get to that point. So creating the brand, creating the product, doing various rounds of sampling to get the perfect fit, which when you go into the fashion industry, or certainly we were quite new to it, didn't realise how broken up that process is. So you've got someone that designs it, someone else that cuts the patterns, someone else that grades it, so takes it from one size to multiple sizes, someone else who samples it, someone else who produces it. So there's so many steps in that process. So it probably took us a bit longer than we'd hoped. But on the flip side, that's also not that long in the fashion industry. So it was quite a quick start to get to that point. We then released our first batch, which was just 2 colours. And, you know, like when you start any business, most of our first customers were family and friends, particularly because you're asking someone to wait for 4 to 8 weeks for something to be made. You don't have any reviews online. You know, it's like at that point we don't have a physical store. It takes a lot of trust to not feel like you're getting conned.
And
right?
to have that audience and just to be able to reach, like, go back like 5 years, you could whack a post on Instagram with the right hashtags and I'll be having like thousands of likes instantly. Now it's like you have a following in 10,000. One of my good friends is, she works like within the celebrity space. She's got bloody loads of Instagram followers. She literally gets like 15 likes on her post. Sorry if you're listening.
Yeah.
Because like the algorithm is so geared towards pushing people to spend money, right? So I really feel sorry for new brands right now in terms of the platforms are geared to make reach such a paid commodity, right?
Exactly.
So I really do feel sorry for you guys in terms of like getting that initial movement going.
I wouldn't feel sorry for us.
It's
part and parcel of setting up a new business, isn't it? And I think you've got to be up for the challenge and you've got to work out how you can, crack the system. And that's through what we believe is really authentic, fresh content. And we've worked hard since we started to make sure that our content is different from everyone else. Like our branding is different different from everyone else. I think what's unique about Batch is that Sam and I haven't come from a fashion background. We've come from a startup background, so we haven't got like the traditional playbook that somebody who's like grown up in fashion or their first job was in fashion would necessarily have. So I think as a consequence, there's a very nice, unique, authentic take to what we're trying to achieve in Batch, whether that's talking about the product, our angle on sustainability, or the way that we're, you know, driving community, but we're trying to do things very authentically and differently and hope that our content cuts through the noise because it's good enough to, rather than because you've put, you know, a 50k spending campaign on something through Meta.
E-commerce is hard, and sometimes you have to trust your gut. But if you want to be the next True Classic, your gut won't cut it. And that's where Triple Whale comes in. Triple Whale makes profitable growth simple and helps you understand who your customers are, where they've come from, what they've purchased, and how much they've cost. Triple Whale is an analytics and attribution tool trusted by more than 10,000 brands on Shopify. Still not sure that Triple Whale's for you? Get started for free today with Trends by Triple Whale. This brand new benchmarks tool lets you measure Google, Meta, and TikTok ad performance against friends and enemies alike. Say no to your gut and say yes to better data. Explore the free Trends app today at triplewhale.com/e-commerce trends.
Yeah.
I know this might sound really obvious and maybe a little bit stupid, but like, why aren't other brands doing this properly? Like, why are they wasting so much?
I think it goes back to what Julian just said. There's a playbook, or people believe there's a playbook, and it's like, well, we do it like this because that's how it's always been done. But to your point, you know, you can't do that anymore because you just don't cut through the noise and you don't get the traction that you want. And, you know, you're basically just banging your head against the wall trying to repeat the same things over and over again. And I think slowly people are starting to wake up to that. You know, when we started after that first launch, we're like, okay, that was good. We've got proof of concept here. People like it, you know, and friends and family got it. They actually loved it rather than it just being a bit of a pity purchase, which you never really know if it is. Like, you know, you speak to everyone around you and they're like, yeah, that's a really great idea. And you're like, are you just being nice to me, or do you actually think it's a great idea? Because if you don't, you're not being nice to me. Just fucking say it as
it's when your granddad goes, how much? All right, then here we go.
Yeah, exactly. So seeing that, getting proof of concept, and then we turn to each other and we're like, we don't have a marketing budget here. Like, so how are we going to do it differently? Because as nice as it would be to spend 50k on ads and just like start off, which you guys will know isn't a huge amount as it is anyway in the ad world, but for a startup, it's shed loads. So we went down this route of, to Ju's point, collaborating with people, but also other brands. So like each brand has worked really hard to build their own little community. We realised that was a pretty good way of you know, trying to grow ours, was to reach out to a brand and share communities and find a way to authentically collaborate. And like I said, like there's lots of other brands that have similar people that we're going after and vice versa. So you start to build a bit more of a lifestyle around what you're doing, and that led to the next stage of the journey for us where we got a physical shop.
So just before we dive into your amazing store, which I have visited and loved, which I know you've moved now actually, but what was the biggest challenge to actually go to market, do you think? So from 0 to Batch 1, what was like the biggest, hardest moment where you kind of thought, fuck, is this actually going to happen?
And the biggest hurdle into entering the fashion industry is creating your garment. Ultimately, I think that's where a lot of people set out, you know, creating a brand, making a website, thinking about the product in your head, like taking it from we basically designed our suit from scratch. We took inspiration from the traditional chore jacket, paired it with trousers that we liked personally. So that takes time to build and create that product. And then you obviously have to go out and source the materials, which takes ages, especially as a new fashion brand without any background in the industry. Similarly, going out and finding a manufacturer. So for batches 1 to 3, we partnered with a brilliant factory in Portugal. So that was alien to Sam and I. So back and forth to Portugal to make sure they're legit, sampling it. We had actually, when we went to Porto the first time, we had a very funny, because we were checking out a few factories, and we'd had a few factories make samples for us. We went to the first factory. It was an amazing experience. Like, these guys are like spot on first time, we're gonna love it. Went to the second one, had like a chalk and cheese experience. The first thing the guy did was like land a invoice in front of us for the cost of these samples when we'd pre-agreed that we would, on good terms, get to see what they would look like without paying for them anyway.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's the biggest hurdle is, creating a product from scratch and then getting into a position alongside that where you've done everything else in the background in order to launch. But that's like the biggest hurdle, I think, for starting a unique fashion brand with a unique product.
I think we were quite lucky though, having had that experience. I don't think that was our biggest challenge those first 10 months. The challenges increase when you get past that and trying to grow an audience that wants to buy into what you're doing in such a busy market like the fashion industry. That's probably been a bigger challenge. Like, how do you reach enough of the right people to grow your brand, to grow your business, to actually start to make an impactful change?
I was going to say, what was that pivotal moment between that initial batch where it was going to friends, family, to then batch 2? Was there a big gap between that you were still getting enough sort of people on board for that batch to even happen? And then batch 3 and now 4, did that just then, has it just become simpler each time, I imagine, with like more people on board? But yeah, what was that?
It's like a bit of a ripple effect, isn't it? There wasn't like a specific moment necessarily that was like, okay, cool, we're out of the friends and family zone now.
Yeah.
The nice reassuring thing for us was a lot of those initial friends and family that bought have now bought again.
Yeah.
And that when you get to that stage, like I said, it's not really a pity purchase. They're buying it because they actually genuinely like it. And so from our perspective, we're like, okay, cool, we actually have made a great product here that people want to buy into, and they can see how they would wear it, and they wear it so much that they want to buy another one. We actually never thought that we would have as many repeat customers as we have got, because in our minds when we were setting it up, like, why would you buy 2 suits in the space of 6 months? Like, that doesn't really make a huge amount of sense to us initially. And then watching and hearing how often people wear it, that it just becomes a staple in their wardrobe. They're like, okay, this makes sense. If I'm wearing this 4 or 5 times a week, it's nice to not just be wearing the same colour 4 or 5 times a week. I'm going to get a new colour, I'm going to buy into it again. So that was really cool. But yeah, I think it's always hard, and going back to what you said about trying to make motion on social media, which unfortunately is our biggest outlet and way of reaching fresh new eyes. And that's sort of where everyone goes to discover brands. And again, like, I think that is starting to change a bit with sort of physical activations, but generally that's where you discover your new products. Trying to make moves on there is difficult. So for us, it's been quite a large ripple effect and word of mouth, and we're now in a position where we're really starting to see really fresh eyes on brand and people that, we have no connection to whatsoever, who might have seen like a post on LinkedIn at some point in time and got that brand recognition and then come in to buy into what we're doing. So yeah, that's been cool. Did that answer the question?
No, I think it was just a solid tangent, mate.
Had to get it off the chest.
We love a tangent. So batch 1 to 3, your products were made in Portugal. Batch 4, which is just launched, that is made in London. Tell us about that, because that is quite a moment, right?
Yep. Yeah. We're delighted to be able to manufacture in London now. It wasn't an easy decision. We had a couple of production issues in batches 2 and 3, as you would suspect, like as a new fashion brand. Like a few hiccups, we dealt with them, we managed them, we moved on. But what we learned, was that we need to be closer to production. We need to have a little bit more control. We want to be closer to the product. Manufacturing in London was always an ambition of ours. That's what we wanted to do when we started out. But as a new fashion brand, like, there's not many factories in the UK. They're all full. Everybody wants to produce as close to home as possible in an ideal world. So yeah, moving back home has been a massive success. We've got a brilliant new manufacturer. Important that we get to support British craftsmanship, reduces our air miles. It's much more sustainable to be producing here than it is in Portugal. So overall, and then it's brilliant for our brand too. I think Batch London, made in London, designed in London. There's not many fashion brands that can truly say that, and at this moment in time, that's what we're able to do. And it's a bit of a touch for us.
And what was that process like in terms of, like, you mentioned that most manufacturers are full in this country, everyone wants it closer to home. What was that process actually like in terms of you guys sourcing a supplier or manufacturer here in London, not only that is going to meet the quality demand that your brand needs, but also somebody that you trust and someone that's going to say, actually, yeah, we're going to do this? Like, what did that process look like for you guys?
Yeah, well, I think it was always an ambition of the brand when we started out to be made in London, or made in the UK. Sorry, let's be realistic. But with the wave of fast fashion, everyone moving their production over abroad, like the British tailoring industry, which has always been famous, everyone retrained because there weren't any jobs anymore. But there's a bit of sort of anti-globalization going on at the moment, like post-Brexit. You know, the trade barriers have increased. There's a lot of red tape getting in and out of Europe. So there's a bit of a movement of people bringing production back within their own borders, which is cool. So partly because we're a bit more of an established brand and we now have a physical product. Like when we're going out initially, we had kind of an idea on paper. So, you know, if you're already nearly at capacity, it doesn't really make sense to take a punt on something that you don't even know if you're going to get an order in. Mm-hmm. So partly because we've moved along a bit, we've got some proof that what we're doing works and people want to buy it, and so we're going to generate revenue for the factories. Mm-hmm. But also because there's, you know, that move back. But in terms of actually making it happen, Julian found them on Google. So it was as simple as that. You know, sometimes things just present themselves to you. Part of our issue was we'd had a load of production issues on our second batch out in Portugal. Mm-hmm. Partly some of our naivety in the way that we were producing, but also we just got really unlucky. How we were producing before is a method of production called garment dye. So you make a garment out of plain fabric and then you dye it in a big washing machine to give it its colour. Mm. It shrinks in the washing machine, but you test what the shrinkage is going to be on the fabric before you do it, and you add in the exact right amount so it shrinks to the perfect size. We had this issue where over the 20 rolls of fabric that we'd bought, there was a different shrinkage in each roll. So you'd measured what they thought was going to be consistent across the whole batch, and it wasn't. Then, which is totally unheard of, they had different shrinkage within the same roll. So like the middle of the roll had less shrinkage than the outside of the roll. So we just ended up getting all these suits back that were completely the wrong size. So we had to go and get them remade, and luckily the people that had bought into them that had been affected really had bought into the vision and the journey, and we did our best to make sure that they felt well looked after, despite having to wait for twice as long as they'd expected. But you know, these are the teething issues that you have as a young business, and better to learn them now than then. But again, that sort of led to us wanting to be more in control of the whole process. And so by being 40 minutes away from the shop, that makes it easier.
And actually, like, this is the reality of slow fashion, isn't it? That it's being made to order. It's not already done, and you're not then making your decision there and then. So therefore, it's going to be subject to challenges as it's being made, in the same way of anything that's made to order is likely to have challenges along that journey. And I'm sure as you guys release more batches, those challenges will still present themselves, but I'm sure you guys will find quicker ways to resolve them and so on. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of that, I want to go back to the acquisition, because I think it's really exciting that you guys are like really building a community of people that are behind this cause and obviously loving your suits. So we spoke about a little bit about friends and family, the ripple effect, more and more people knowing about your brand, that word of mouth. How far is that going to go for you? And is there any new channels that you guys are really pushing in to acquire new customers now? Tell us a little bit about how you guys are acquiring customers now on Batch 4.
Yep, I think the good angle to take on that is that suits and starting out in suiting, and this is a small tangent here, there's an interesting thought I've had recently around the word suit and our customer base, and you know, it is a suit in some respects, but it is also a very versatile outfit, and for a lot of customers they associate a suit with something that they would rarely ever buy, or if buy at all anymore. So we're tussling with this interesting marketing, you know, conversation where it's like, yes, technically it is a suit, but it represents and is, you know, a much better product overall. The question was
Acquisition,
right? Yeah. So suiting now. The big vision for Batch is to be the go-to made-to-order brand in the world. Like, that's the big statement. Like, so once we've proven concept that people want to pay for something and wait for it for ultimately a better planet, there's no reason why we can't launch new products into our Batch model. So we're currently playing at the moment with some linen to look at a linen shirt and a linen trouser in the summer. So we'll be developing our collection, and I think a lot of the feedback that we get from our community is, I would love it if you guys did another product, because they've bought into the vision now. For a lot of people, a suit that retails at $395 is a pretty hefty purchase, but people really want to join this community and join the Batch Members Club. And we've coined it a counterculture community of people that want to both look great and live more responsibly. And people can get behind that message. So we're pretty excited to develop Batch into new products on a more modest price point. 100 to 150 for a shirt is suddenly a nice opportunity for somebody to be able to try the Batch model, see the production of the shirt that hasn't cost them $395, or back to my original point, people that think that they don't need a suit so aren't shopping at Batch. Everybody needs a shirt, right? But there's still a debate whether people think that they need a Batch suit, which is what we're kind of trying to address to grow the community.
And in terms of finding those customers that are really, because it is a niche, right? Right now, it's still, it's not everybody that is going to instantly know that they want this. Like, until I heard about you guys, I wouldn't even known that this was a thing. So actually educating customers about your model. Sorry, guys. It's true. It's true. But when I saw it, I was like, damn, that's awesome. I want to get involved, which I'm sure a lot of people, it's going to be a big thing, right? There's probably a massive market of people that don't know they want your product, and then when they see it, they're like, "This is a bit of me." So it's like, where are you investing right now to get eyes on in front of people? I know you guys do like events, in-person events to attract people.
Yeah. Social
ads. Tell me a little bit more about that acquisition side.
Yeah, so I think we approached it from a few different angles. Like we touched earlier on authentic collaboration. I mean, that's a bit of a buzzword, but what we mean by that is getting suits on the right people to give a bit more meaning behind what the suit is, to build that lifestyle behind it and reach their consumer base or follow base. So we work with chefs, tattoo artists, musicians. Anything outside of fashion is really our target.
So would this be kind of like people with good followings that are going to be able to share, like influencers effectively?
Yeah, exactly. We do a little, what we call a docu-series, where we go and it's like a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes long, where we go and film someone, get them to introduce themselves, explain a bit about them, try and get something juicy out of them, and have them in a suit at the same time, and you can sort of see how it works within their lifestyle and hotefully resonate with it or relate to it in some way, shape or form. So that's one side. The other side is the physical in-person. So we've got a shop in Spitalfields Market.
Nice.
That allows you to have walk-in customers, right? And that's great because it completely fresh eyes on brand, and have the opportunity once they're in our shop, in our trap, effectively, to sit them down for 5 minutes and bore them to death about the suit. And
do you lock the door as they come?
We do think about locking the door. You've got to be quite subtle with it.
And then you get the gun out and say, "Give me all of your cash, and I'll give you
a nice suit." So that's great. You get to meet people there, and we host various events. We're on our third shop now, which is a bit smaller than the last two. So the last two were like huge spaces. We did music events. We had a tattoo flash day in there at one point, and it was all really cool and very brand building. But now we're into a slightly more mature side of our business, which is that how can we acquire new customers rather than new eyes on brand. Yeah. So it's a bit of a balance between the two, and the next sort of 4 or 5 months for us is really about hammering in those sales and using the community as a way of growing. And I guess the final point on that is to what you just said earlier about until you came across the brand, you wouldn't have really known that you'd been interested or liked it, or wouldn't have been searching a casual suit on Google to come across it. So like, it's all well and good doing your SEO, but there's another way of introducing it to people. And for us recently, that's been going a bit more direct, and working out who our perfect customer is, who's buying our suits already, whether it's a number of architects we've had buy recently. So that gives us impetus to go and reach out to architects and architecture agencies and say, look, we're doing this thing. Can we come and pop up in your office and show off our suits? Or can we reach out to people on LinkedIn and just introduce them to the brand and try and not make it a super sales focused thing, but more of an introduction to say, look, this is something you might be interested in. And we're having a really great response from that. The people being like, yeah, actually it is. I can see how that would fit in with my lifestyle, and that's great. So trying to balance the sort of mass marketing with the slightly more niche and direct.
It's interesting for us as well because our conversion rate in the shop is ridiculously strong. To your point, like, how do you know if you're going to like it? Like, at the moment, having a physical appearance and the opportunity for people to come and try it on and realise that it is something that's going to look good on them, they feel comfortable in it, they can suddenly see all the opportunities they can wear it, sells the suit. Like nearly 7 or 8 out of 10 people will go on to buy the suit if they try it on in the shop, versus online, which, you know, we're not hitting the numbers that we would want to online yet, because it's conceivably a product that you would want to try on in the shop first. So it's kind of like a unique challenge that we're dealing with at the moment. But in terms of like acquisition efforts are going into physical retail at the moment relative to online, but we're hoping to address and balance those things out as we grow.
And how are you guys finding digital marketing as a channel right now? Because you guys are probably on the wrong side of the privacy updates in terms of how well we can target online. How's that been for you guys in an early phase of a business, rather than people that have maybe done it for 10 years and have really seen a big difference?
We're using such small budgets that it's really hard to give you like a tangible answer to that. So like for us, digital marketing is something that we feel that we should do. Can we then directly relate that back into conversions and sales? It's really hard to measure because, again, whilst we've got the physical space and feel it's important for people to come and have a fitting and try it on and touch the material, you know, you'll ask people where they heard of it and they might be like an Instagram ad, but they're purchasing in person in the shop. So you can't really then relate that back and allocate that to your digital ad spend, for example, because they're separated. So
I think there's such a big drive to like that multi-touch point of a customer now, in terms of, we used to literally look at like good old Google Analytics where it was like, oh, we got 30% of our customers from here, and it's just not real. The attribution model is ridiculous. The reality is that people have seen you everywhere and then on a whole made a decision to buy, which I think is the right way of doing it. Stop being so obsessed with like, we need to attribute customers so we can exactly see the ROI of every single channel, whereas the reality is it's probably a little bit of everything that's attributed to that sale.
Focusing on ROAS,
your brand as well, like suits alone, the money you invest in it, and the time that you're having to wait for that. Like, this isn't a decision someone makes on the fly, and that's not what you guys are here to create. You're here to change the way that people are considering purchasing suits now. So it's not going to be one-stop shop to sell.
Well, it's interesting because we have customers that will join like batch 4 who will say, I've seen every single batch and I've been following the whole journey, and now it's my time to buy one. I want one now, which is always unique. But then at the same time, on the flip side, we are finding that if you can get across the need for a smart casual suit, the reason to shop more sustainably, and joining this community in the shop within 10 minutes to a customer, people are buying on the fly, which is the best thing about this, right? You can get behind it quite quickly once you've worked it out, but so it can either be a very long considered purchase, or within a shop experience, you can narrow it down to 10, 15 minutes. They try on a suit and they go on to buy, which is quite interesting, I guess.
Yeah. And I think the shop makes you guys quite unique. I don't know tons of fashion brands that have just gone, fuck it, we're opening a shop, let's do this. Clearly from what you're saying, it's maybe one of the best things you've ever done. But what was the thought process before you kind of have the info that you know now, in terms of saying, we're going to go in the middle of Shoreditch and we're going to tell everyone about what we do? Were you both completely aligned to that? Was there a bit of like, oh, I'm not sure if we should do this? Because it's expensive, right, opening a store?
It's expensive. It was just a big old gamble, to be honest. Like, it was an educated gamble. We had a launch party over 2 days for our first release, which was kind of intended to be more of a celebration with friends and family, of like, we fucking did it. We've got the products out there and we've got a brand and this is really cool. Let's get some drinks partners in, have a piss up. But what ended up happening was we probably sold half of the suits we sold in that batch across those 2 days, from people coming in and feeling it and touching it and being like, I actually didn't think I was interested, but go on lads, good effort, I'll get involved and this looks great and I love it. So we're like, okay, cool, launch party works. Let's do a 10-day launch party for the next release. So we're looking for a long-term pop-up space for a 10-day launch party, and it's going to cost us like a good chunk of our entire business budget. And then through a friend of mine, got an introduction to Spitalfields Market, went through a little application process, and whilst they're between massive brands, they have empty units and they want those empty units filled. So we managed to get in on favourable terms and had a shop for, at that time, it was a period of like 2.5 months when we were expecting to have a short pop-up of 10 days. We're like, okay, this is sick. Got it, signed it, got the keys, walked into this massive space. We're like, oh, I think we bogged it. Like, how are we going to fill it? We've got no money. So we just started reaching out to other brands. And again, I think that was a big learning for us. If you got a really strong reason for being around and you've got a decent community and visual output to your brand that aligns with other brands, you can do a lot of collaborative work for free, rather than asking for a discount on the paint. We worked with an amazing company called Yes Colours who gave us the paint for free because it aligned with their brand ethos, and we're talking to the same consumer, and put up a little vinyl on the wall and had some flyers around that said it was from Yes Colours, and spent the best part of a week painting the shop ourselves quite badly.
It's all right, no one will notice.
Yeah, no one actually noticed.
We've had quite an unorthodox start to the fashion world, to be fair. We've moved and redecorated and built 3 separate shops in the space of 12 months. In the last 12 months for these last 3 collections, alongside running a physical store, these events, the online website. Sam and I are getting through a shitload of work and just hoping that it sticks, basically.
And paint.
And paint.
Painting
And paint.
Yeah.
I think we kind of worked out, if you're with any startup, if you do enough cool shit and you survive for long enough, that's when things start to happen. It's very hard for a brand to fail if you can do both of those things at the same time.
So with your physical store, are you then associating X amount of stock from the batch to go, we're going to put this in the physical store?
We hold samples in the store, so we make each colour, so the new collection, burgundy, chocolate brown, racing green and Pacific blue, we make them across the sizes for men and women. So we, between batches 1, 2 and 3, collated quite a lot of samples, and we recently just did a really successful sample sale which just cleared them all out, which brought 100 new customers into the brand, which was excellent. So we'll probably continue to follow that model if it's in line with this zero waste. Ultimately we have to make some suits for people to be able to try them on, right? So it works quite nicely for us.
Nice.
So in terms of partnerships, I absolutely love brand partnerships when I see them, brands like Grind all over them. I've seen some really, really cool ones. People like Candy Kittens, always doing collabs, even with artists and things. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? You're literally tapping into somebody else's matured audience, especially when you're a new brand, who hopefully are aligned to the values of your brand. And normally, I think consumers are fairly open to it. I know me as a consumer, I'm always open to it when a brand I like starts collabing with somebody else. So what other collabs have you guys done?
So we're actually kind of using it as beyond a collaboration perspective, but almost as a sales channel as well, because there's lots of these businesses that need to look sharp, but you would never rock around in a traditional suit. So, we're in talks with Candy Kittens, for example, at the moment, who do loads of consumer-facing stuff, from trade shows to events to whatever it might be, to have a slightly more sophisticated, almost uniform that people firstly feel comfortable and look good in, but also represents their brand in a way that they want to be seen. So we're trying to expand that as something that we do and push that further and wider. We're probably a little bit early to do a collab suit to sell to consumers just yet, because we're still sort of establishing ourselves, but that's definitely in the works. We'd love to do that at some point, whether that's with another brand or whether that's with a creative that has their own brand, an artist or whatever it might be.
But I've seen you guys have some celebrities wearing your suits recently.
Yeah, we go quite hard after celebrities and influencers, and it's nice for a celebrity because it's not just can I send you a t-shirt in the post? It's can you come in for a fitting? It's a full experience. You're going to get something that actually fits you. For Julian and I, it's an opportunity to meet people face to face and show them that, we're not just another big brand that's trying to throw something at them to get some content back. It's we're actually 2 young guys that are trying to make a difference, and it's much easier as an influencer to buy into that and then want to give you the content in return, because that's the gold dust for us, is to get authentic content. I hate that word, but you know what I mean, of someone voicing what you've told them because they bought into it, rather than because they've been paid 10k
Just
for a brand deal.
suit, yeah.
So actually, over the last 2 years, I'm sure you guys will have failed on some things, absolutely smashed others. If you had your time again, what are a couple of things that you would do differently if you could do?
Wouldn't have moved to garment dyed suits, to be fair. So our first batch, ironically, was stronger than our second and our third in terms of the product. We've gone full circle now, and we're back to batch 1's quality and standards. Not that there was anything particularly wrong with batches 2 or 3, just to our high standards for the suit. So that would be one thing where I'd probably have avoided. we built a speakeasy bar in our second shop. That was exhausting because we put so much time and effort into building it, and we didn't really use that much. And when we did, it just burnt us out. So like hosting events in your shop, it was really nice. Like we'd spent a lot of money. We'd been savvy with it, like Gumtree, getting like nice Chesterfield leather sofas. Collaborated with a wallpaper brand, with Good Mood prints, loads of different drinks brands. So it was super rewarding, and we held some really cool events down there, including like a launch party and stuff. But like in hindsight, we probably pissed like 10 grand down the drain, and we're pretty tired and miserable throwing parties and trying to work at the same time.
Didn't pay off that one.
No, it was fun, and
it will
be a memory and an anecdote of Batch for years to come, no doubt. But it probably didn't need to happen.
Sat there in a van going to pick up some Chesterfield from Essex, being like, probably shouldn't be doing this actually. Probably something better I could be doing with my time right now.
But it was fun.
So what is wrong with the traditional suit?
The traditional suit is dead. It's an outdated formality that rarely is worn by people anymore. And the people that do wear it tend to be A-type males that want to feel good about themselves in a misogynistic work environment. That's not entirely true. There's obviously lots. There's obviously lots of places you can.
Mark that, yeah.
Fucking hell! Every single man right now is like. And women,
I'm here for this shit. Carry on.
A few sat there.
Carry on, Sam. Right. Anyway, next.
That was controversial.
So obviously that's one way to look at it. There are still occasions that you'd wear a traditional suit. Like I still like to wear it occasionally for the really formal stuff.
Yeah.
But generally speaking,
it's all right, mate. We'll send you the edit. You can cut out what you want.
No, it's cool. I'm happy to get that, but it's nice to bring it back down.
No, it's good.
It's true. To be fair,
it's true.
It is
good.
It is. So yeah, I think there are lots of occasions you'd wear it. They're just diminishing massively, and even weddings these days, people don't really wear them to anymore because you don't want to overdo it or be overly formal. Lots of people like getting married in the summer. Wearing tails in the summer is not that fun. It's like a sweaty mess for everyone. Can't slut drop on the dance floor. So yeah, I think it's just like the traditional suit will always have a place. It's just the number of occasions that you wear it are diminishing massively. So it's time for a reinvention of that.
I literally bought a suit a year ago, sorry guys, and I have not taken it out of the cupboard since. It was for the Christmas do last year.
But also the investment in it, right? Like some of those traditional suits, the money it costs for how often you would wear it versus what you guys are, producing it just makes so much more sense.
Big time.
That's the challenge for us, right? Is showing people that our suit is wearable day to day, all week if you wanted to. You can style it with all of the clothes in your wardrobe. The traditional suit only has a very finite purpose now, right? And we've gone to redefine the suit, is our catchphrase, to create a product that is hyper versatile, that you can wear across all seasons, for all events, whether it's casual, smart, the lot.
I would happily wear these suits in the office, even though we're like super casual most of the time, or for like pitches, whereas a main suit, I wouldn't turn up in a pitch in agency land in a main suit anymore. No way. So obviously you guys have got a shop. You needed capital to be able to get your suit off the ground, right? Now, tell us a little bit about that in terms of raising funds, getting investment, and allowing you guys to have the money to be able to move forwards with this endeavour and bring Batch to life.
Yeah. And that's on that one.
I thought you were about to, but yeah, no. Raising is part of any startup's journey, right? We were self-funded for most of the start. The 10 months or so that we built Batch was out of mine and Sam's pockets. So we grafted hard to get it to a point which was an investable proposition, in that we'd had a launch batch which had sold really well. We'd made X amount of revenue in this amount of time. It was tangible. We'd proven concept that people were willing to pay for something and wait for it. So ultimately we had something that we could take to market from an investment standpoint. Sam had a bit of experience with Punchy, raising money, so he was hot on it straight away. That was quite a steep learning curve for me. Oddballs has never raised a significant amount of money like we have done. Not that it's been significant, but they just haven't really chosen to raise at all. So it was new territory for me. So it's a job in itself, right? The second you are trying to run a business alongside making a raise, it doubles your workload because it is a separate job to be able to do it. But it's one that we've thoroughly enjoyed. We built a nice little cluster of angels that have backed us. We've only raised just over the SEIS limit, so a nice amount to supplement what we're currently doing whilst we grow the business at this moment in time. And we'll be looking to raise, in the future. But at this moment in time, with the amount of suit sales that we've had, it's made us, in a nice, healthy position to grow Batch quite naturally.
And for kind of anyone that's, in those early phases of a business and they're looking to raise, have you guys got any tips that you would give them in terms of approaching investors, pitching to investors, and ultimately convincing them to part with their cash?
Yeah, I think my biggest tip would just to be start like at least 6 months earlier than you think you need to, because it is a long process, and a lot of the time you're introducing potential investors to the brand for the first time, and it's actually not that different to making a sale, or like for us selling a suit or whatever it is you're selling, because it takes a while for people to buy into the idea, to see like you want to sit on it as an investor. You're not just going to meet someone and within half an hour speaking to them, throw some cash at them, unless the timing's perfect and that works out for you well, or you're an amazing salesman. But really you want to, cool idea, let's see how you go over the next few months. What's your visual output like? Do I buy into your marketing? Do I like the way that your brand represents itself? And also you start to generate a bit of FOMO. The biggest advice is to do what you can to get that first check-in. As soon as you've got the first one in and over the line, that's the hardest one. Then people start to be like, okay, what am I missing out on? What do you know that no one else that I don't? But yeah, it is just ultimately graft, raising investment at this stage. I think once you start to get to your second, third, fourth round of investment, you've got a standpoint to look back on. You've got investors to introduce to their friends, etc. That first one's the toughest. But yeah, it's just a factor of getting out, getting in front of people. Don't be scared to cold outreach. Generally, it's better to reach out for advice rather than going hard the first time and be like, can I have your money? It's like, can I tell you about my business? Can you give me some feedback on it? Can we start the conversation there? Start a conversation.
And do you guys have any views on actually turning the tables and making sure that the investor is right for your brand? I.e., if there is going to be like investor involvement, poking the nose in what you're doing, maybe casting views on direction. Is that something you guys have really thought about as well, in terms of whose money you want to take, what's their involvement going to be, and so on, really?
Yeah, I think so. You always want to be strategic with who you bring on board, and I guess when you're raising money, desperate's not the right word, but like you're so looking forward to getting those people involved with your business that sometimes you can get ahead of yourself and jump at something that you shouldn't. But really, there's plenty more of those people out there. It might just take a little bit longer. So bringing the right people on board is super important. You don't want to have loads of people involved in your business that you don't get along with, that ultimately make it miserable to run or cause you loads of grief that actually you don't need at that early stage. You want people that can open doors and guide you rather than sort of tell you what to do. So yeah, I think just my advice would be to bide your time and wait for the right people,
Good stretch.
Great stretch.
Nice. I think, and there is definitely the right moment to bring on an investor, and there's also a wrong moment as well, isn't it? I'm guessing understanding your brand, because in those early phases of a brand development, what a business can be in that day one compared to 12, 24 months later can often be quite different. So really making sure that you guys really understand your vision and what that USP of the brand is. I know when I started Charle is very different now to what it was on day one. God, it would be like a different business. So, which I guess is pretty vital when you're pitching to an investor to say that this is our model. This is exactly what we want to achieve effectively. I think if I'd have gone for investment for Charle on day one, God, I think I'd be like, oh, we're not really that anymore. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you raised though. Like in that very, very early stage, people aren't really investing in the business. They're investing in you, because to your point, it changes. And I think every sophisticated investor is well aware of that. So what they're really looking for is, have you gone through the right thought process to bring this business to life? Like, what's the thinking that's gone into it rather than the end product? And therefore, if and when things do change or hurdles arise,
they're on
Are you
board.
going to be able to pivot? Are you going to be able to get around them? Are you going to, protect my cash effectively?
And I imagine that like first 10 months of you guys self-funding was probably like a really strong period of that, of like figuring it out, understanding your direction, playing with new ideas and really forming Batch to what it is now effectively.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So selling online, obviously we know that you've got an awesome store, lots of paint. We know that you've got some cool partnerships going on with influencers and celebs and so on. But in terms of actually selling online and that being a big part of your strategy, what's that looking like for you guys?
It's looking like having a really nice website build that converts. Simple as that. Like we had an initial website set up. But obviously, what we're trying to sell it's quite a big topic, and there's a lot of concepts to get across. Whether that's the redefined like super casual suit that you can wear all the time, or it's like it takes 6 to 8 weeks to make because we're trying to cut down fashion waste. Putting that across on a website for people to be able to digest it all without visiting the shops. Not everybody's on social media, so they might not be across that. So it's managing that has been an initial challenge for us on our website. It's like the product is super strong. Buy the product, you can check out the product online, but at the same time, because we put a lot of emphasis on this on the store, people are like, is it a product that I need to go and try on first? So, and then on top of that, understanding that it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to make. So yeah, we've spent a lot of time and effort fine-tuning the website. We just launched a brand new one. We're on Shopify, of course. So the focus this time around was really nailing the e-commerce element of our business. So we learn over time, as this is what we're saying, we haven't come from a typical fashion playbook. So we've honed our skills over the last few websites and shoots about what sells online, what drives faster conversion, what smart tools are there to integrate so that we're better, we're closer to the data and understanding how and who is checking out on our website, what the behaviors are on our website, just getting a lot more intelligent as a business to make sure, because ultimately that's how we scale Batch, right? It's people checking out for our suits online because they've got the confidence that they know that the jacket's going to fit them, the trousers are going to fit them, and it's a product that they can confidently check out online with. That's where we want to get to. It takes time to get there, especially we've created a product that's $395. It needs a lot of proof behind it for people to be able to check out with that confidence in the given circumstance of what people are currently spending their money on. Like we're finding that the last few weeks have been slower than we would like online, and there's probably because people are just waiting for Black Friday, and we're not going to be putting a Black Friday sale on. So it's like, how do we get people to the website, convince them that it's something that they want to buy, check out and make that purchase ultimately.
And then kind of bringing that in-store experience online, I'm sure is probably something that you guys are thinking about in terms of like how the material feels. Is there any things that you guys are doing right now or thinking about at least in terms of for those that can't pop to your store but just find you online and think, actually, this is a brand for me? Is there anything you guys are doing right now to really deliver that Batch experience online?
Well, we do host virtual fitting consultations.
Okay.
So if you can't make it down to the shop, we can give you the same 20 minutes of our time to walk you through it and ask the same questions.
Nice.
Our suits are quite a universal sizing, so everyone fits between 2 sizes in the jacket. Smaller sizes smarter, larger sizes more casual. The trousers go up and down in 2 inches in the waist in length and have adjustable waist buckles. So we can find you a perfect size. You don't necessarily need to be in the shop to do that, but it is always a very difficult thing to vocalize. How do you show or tell someone how something feels? Because that's, it's a completely different emotion or sensory experience. So we're trying to do our best to show that from close-ups and all sorts. But I think the other thing we regularly remind ourselves is that we've only been trading for 20 months. So we're still a very early stage, and a lot of that online trust to purchase will come through time, through seeing a friend in it, through seeing your favourite influencer in it, or seeing 5 influencers that you follow in it. It's not necessarily the first one. It just will take a bit of time to gain that online trust, which ultimately it is to make that slightly bigger ticket purchase online. And again, try and vocalize to people that because we make to order and we don't have to make the same margins that the traditional fashion industry does, because we're not holding stock and we're not accounting for wastage, you're getting an 800 to £1,000 suit for £395. So yeah, it is a big outgoing for a lot of people. You don't necessarily have that much to spend every month, but you know, you are getting a bargain, and people love bargains ultimately.
I think it's worth highlighting as well that the traditional suit is something that you would go to a shop to buy, and that's one of our challenges as a brand, is like making people have the confidence that perhaps this isn't actually a traditional suit. It's something that you can check out with confidence online. It's a casual chore jacket and a pair of trousers. So that's quite an interesting thing that we continually have to develop and ask ourselves how to overcome that stereotype, for want of a better phrase, that you need to try a suit on in person to know it fits you right. Is quite a interesting point for us.
I think sizing in general within fashion, we see across a lot of our merchants, within fashion, sizing is their biggest challenge. Like online, how do you know that that's going to fit you very well?
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, like from brand to brand with, I don't know, even denim alone, like one brand just won't sit on me as well as another. So down to that point, I think getting sizing across, but it's amazing that you guys are offering that like virtual, you know, experience so they can understand a lot better for how they fit.
I think you guys are actually quite ahead of the curve in that, in terms of like live shopping. Like in places like China, live shopping's really growing with just like having people, customer service teams, sales people sat ready to help online customers there and then. We're selling online. We've seen it with like furniture brands as well, who are like, hey, can I help you at all? In the same way you might go to a showroom, because it's a similar challenge really in terms of how do you almost need somebody there, because when you see the suit, when you understand it easily, it's a bit of a, you know, it's a very attractive kind of offer in my view, but it's that understanding piece, and we know how quickly people online make those split-second decisions, which is, you know, definitely a challenge for sure. Is there any other kind of tech that you guys have thought about or considered, like virtual try-on and stuff like that? I've seen a few brands kind of getting behind.
Yeah, we've just integrated an AI virtual fit assistant, so find your size, which is cool. It hasn't been running for long enough to give you feedback on how well it works yet. But
what does it actually do?
So you can go in and give your body shape, your height, your weight, whether you the fit that you like comparative to other brands that you wear, and it will take the data that we fed into the back end as well as the data that they have from the other brands that they work with, and suggest a perfect size for you, so you can check out with a bit more confidence from a sizing perspective.
Nice.
So that's probably the digital tech. From a physical tech perspective, which is slightly different to generating online sales and brings it more back to a community aspect. We're introducing an NFC puck into both the jacket and the trousers.
Nice.
So it sits under a label, you scan it with your phone, and it will bring up your digital garment passport, which will show you who owns that item, where it was made, who made it, what materials have gone into it. That's sort of the immediate goal, and the idea is that it makes it much easier to recycle, because when it goes to the recycling plant, they can work out exactly what's in it, what process to use. So that's great. It makes it easier to resell because you've got a proof of ownership. So guarantor that that's from the original brand, which we're probably not quite in that resale category yet, but in 15 years' time, people will be buying vintage Batch suits for a lot of money. And then the final one is repair. So again, you can go in and work out, you know, if I've got a hole in it, how do I fix that? What do I need to do? Or where do I take it? Or how do I bring it back to you to have it fixed? So yeah, quite exciting, a new bit of technology that we're looking to harness, and we hope that later down the line that will then integrate back in with our physical stores, and you can scan your jacket on the way in to earn a loyalty point for coming to an event, or to unlock a discount with a partner brand or whatever it might be. So we're just going to start it small and see what the response rate is like. If it goes well, there's quite an infinite sort of realm that we could take it to have that digital portal between us and the consumer post-purchase.
Nice. Love it. Well, what does the future look for you guys now? As you're going into, or in batch 4, when this podcast streams, you'll be ahead, I have no doubt, but what does the future look like for batch?
Well, we've just moved into a seasonal model, so we were looking to do 3 batches a year where there would be 2-week window for people to buy one. We would place it with our manufacturer and move on to our next batch. We quickly worked out that it doesn't give the consumer enough time to work out whether they want to buy it. It gives us a really short amount of time to market it, to create that hungry demand, to be able to sell 200 suits, the manufacturer's minimum order in Portugal. So put a break on that. We've moved to a seasonal model. So batch 4 is now available. It just went live on Wednesday. It's available through till April. So you can buy at any point over that period. So that's different to how we've been traditionally operating. It means that our customer can buy a batch 4 suit at any point. It means that we can make it at any point. We just place orders with our manufacturer in London monthly. So that's kind of the new development, which is a bit more of a mature way of us operating. And then what that enables us to do is start looking at what the spring-summer range looks like, right? So I touched on it earlier, developing new products with our linen range, the linen shirt and trousers, cherry-picking products that are on brand with what we're currently doing and add value to our product range. So we just did a silk scarf, which goes really nicely with the suits. We're going to be doing the linen range, a linen suit, and then potentially looking at made-to-order sunglasses with a good friend and business partner of sorts that creates his own glasses in London. So that'll be the evolution of Batch short term, in all within the mission of becoming a made-to-order brand. And we hope and believe that Batch can create that movement towards people shopping differently, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. Like, let's say we sat down in 5 years' time, hopefully loads of people have come to realise that they can pay for something and wait for it. And ultimately, that's not a massive thing to ask for. Us is the way that we see it. Somebody making a small sacrifice, knowing that making to order means that we aren't creating loads of suits that are being unsold. So I think that's like the 5-year vision for Batch, and then bigger conversations around how can we grow this internationally. What does Batch in the States look like? Is there an appetite in the States for made to order marketing? Working out perhaps where there is a culture around people being slightly more conscious in their consumer behaviours, because at the moment in the UK, quite frankly, it's low. It's really low. So we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us over the next few months and years to continue building our community for it to have enough impact to genuinely change the way that we consume fashion. Because I don't say that lightly, Sam doesn't say it lightly. Batch London changing the way that we all consume fashion is a pretty big statement, right? Like, but we're up for the challenge, and I think that's the way we want to take the business, really.
Nice. And anyone that's listening that loves your suits or love what they've heard, where do they go? Where do they buy it?
Well, a few options you can check out online. So with batchlondon.com, come down to the shop in Spitalfields. You can book in for a fitting in person or online through the website. And then if you're looking to find us on socials, we're at batch.ldn.
Nice. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on CharleChats, the e-commerce podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
To learn about your story. Cool. And I want you guys back in a couple of years because I want to see where this is going. And I want a linen suit. ASAP and a linen shirt when they're out.
We've got you covered.
Done. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you.
A brand on a mission to disrupt the way we buy fashion, the way we think about fashion, and to reduce the amount of clothing that ends up in landfill. What an incredible pair of entrepreneurs and a great conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in to CharleChats, the e-commerce podcast. Please follow us on social media, head over to our YouTube channel, and we'll be back again real soon.